You are listening to the TV Obsessive podcast, brought to you by TVObsessive.com.
Okay, welcome back to the TV Obsessive Podcast. Here today for episode 114. We took last week off for reasons. Hopefully, you didn't miss us too much. As always, my name is Cameron Crane, executive editor for TVObsessive.com, joined by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm good. Today it is August somehow. We are
Yeah, right.
thinking about back to school and summer winding down and but we noticed news has started to pick up a little bit this week after a relatively light month of July.
Yeah, we've got some news. I mean, part of it was from what is it, SDCC, San Diego Comic Con. There was some stuff from that, some other announcements and things like this. Resident Aliens canceled. I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, what we're going to do is ultimately, to let people know, our plan is to cover the new Alien show, which comes to FX in a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, we're trying to figure out exactly what to do, and we talked about it, and we decided we were each going to like pick a show that's relatively recent to talk about. So today, I've chosen Paradise. We're talking about Paradise, the latter part of the pod. So hopefully you've seen that. Spoilers will be on the table, but as per usual, first we will chat about other stuff we've been watching, hit the news items and all of that. Um, so yeah, what else have you been watching this week, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I know that one thing we've talked about a couple times here is we're both, I think, excited and preparing for I believe it's Monday, maybe Monday night. The new King of the Hill season is coming back, 10 episodes on Hulu. So it's been a busy last couple weeks. So I've been just turning on random seasons at random times of King of the Hill and going back and basically reminding myself how much I like this show, how much I am struck by some of the Texas stereotypes that hit close to home, and this is just to remind myself how great this is. I did notice because I was on there last night. All of these episodes, these 10 episodes of the new season, look like the page is there already. They're going to all drop at once on the
Oh,
4th. So we're going to get all at one time.
I guess I didn't realize that. Somehow I thought they were going to roll it out weekly, or I should know these things, but I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. Yeah, I am looking forward to that. So I've been thinking about revisiting the last season, reminding myself how it ended or something like that. If you've been you sound like you haven't really been doing it in an orderly way at all. You've just been like bopping
Oh,
around.
it's just I haven't seen that one. Like to check it out, but I think this weekend I will, at least the last, I don't know, 6, 8 episodes, try to go through those, make sure I'm ready for however, whatever storyline I need continuity for on Monday when it comes back.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering is how much continuity there will be. I don't actually really expect much. We've got a big time jump, of course. And but yeah, it's like I know that I've seen it because I think as I mentioned to you before, I binged all of King of the Hill back in 2020. This was one of my lockdown watches,
Yeah.
where I was just like, I know I've seen a lot of King of the Hill, but since I usually caught it in syndication and stuff like that, I knew I hadn't seen everything. So I thought, well, it'll be interesting maybe to watch it all in order. And it
Yeah.
was, because King of the Hill is one of those shows where I feel like so much humor comes from the characters. So like the more you get to know them and the more you're getting little references to past things, the funnier the show gets. So
Yeah,
if
I think that's
anyone out
that's
there has
probably
watched it,
something that's certainly something I'm missing. Just sort of throwing on a random episode is 6 seasons of this character being built up to get to this point. There's probably some nuanced things that I'm not catching there. It's still wildly entertaining, but you're exactly right about this show.
yeah, I mean, like I think you still get it. It's not like you have to watch
Yeah,
every episode in order. It's not really that kind of show, but I definitely do feel like the more you watch, the funnier it gets because the more it's just like in line with the character. So curious to see what they're going to do there. Another reboot, I guess we could say, is Match Game, which I noticed is back again, now being hosted by Martin Short. Have you noticed this?
yes. Well, I've seen some ads for it. I guess I was shocked a little bit by the Martin Short being host. I know clearly he's in this Only Murders in the Building, but isn't he like 80 years old now or something? I mean, I think I mean, he's taking a lot on right now.
I didn't double check his age. I'm sure he's getting up there though. Yeah, Martin Short's been around for a while. But that's not my complaint. So I think you're talking about Match came on here before for whatever reason, briefly, because I was watching reruns or whatever. I'm a big fan of the old show, first of all, right? Like, I wasn't alive for it in the late 60s or 70s or whenever it was. I
Yeah.
have to double check the exact dates. But I used to watch reruns of that on Game Show Network and that sort of thing. Um, and then there was a reboot of it relatively recently, hosted by Alec Baldwin,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was pretty good. Right.
Yeah.
Um, I watched the first episode of this new iteration with Martin Short, and I regret to report I thought it was bad. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was
Yeah.
bad.
I do
Um,
recall the Alec Baldwin piece being part of this sort of ABC. We're just going to do a night of game shows, and yeah, Alec Baldwin came on as the host. Now he's in a lot of reasons fallen out of favor with a lot of places. So I guess this is kind of a reboot of that reboot with having Martin. Is it the Martin Short issue or is it something else?
it's more than that. It's the whole thing somehow. It's wrong. The whole thing is not. It doesn't feel like Match Game. Um, Somehow Alec Baldwin did pretty well. It wasn't. But the real touchstone is the old stuff. Which have you
Okay.
ever watched the old stuff with who else did it? It was like Gene
I mean,
Rayburn.
I've seen it before. I've seen it, not in any regularity.
They were getting drunk for real, right? Like that the celebrity guests were getting drunk for real. You
Yeah.
could tell. Not that I'm, not this is my major complaint that like, hey, I want my celebrities intoxicated or whatever. But it was just like this is a party, it's a fun time. But the bigger thing is in the writing, and I'll probably watch at least one more episode of the Martin Short version to see if it gets any better here. But the deal with Match Game is it's a fill in the blank, but then I feel like there should always be some space for like making a double entendre,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or some kind of pun or whatever, and not so much, like I thought that the
Interesting.
questions were just kind of boring, and it also led to the celebrity guests often not landing on the same answer,
Yeah.
or you didn't feel like, oh, this is the zinger,
Yeah.
which is that I always thought part of the fun of watching the show was trying to figure out. Almost, it's almost like a Mad Lib, right? But then you wonder if I always wondered if like the writers had something in mind and then blank it out.
Huh.
I don't know how you write this exactly, but I
Yeah.
feel like that would be at play. There should be some level of joke, or as I said, double entendre or something. And it just didn't feel like that. And then I also didn't particularly care for Martin Short as the host. It didn't seem like he had the right kind of, I don't know,
Yeah, it's
spirit
interesting
for it or
to
whatever.
hear you say that. As you know, I've been watching Only Murders in the Building for the first time, and I'm in season 4 now, which is the latest season before the next one comes out in September. And I think that Martin Short is the best written character on that show. He plays sort of former glorious Broadway producer who's sort of washed up and hasn't had a hit in a long time. And there's a lot of irreverence, there's a lot of humor, a lot of room for those entendres that you're talking about. And he just it excels in that. But yeah, this just may not be his thing, it sounds like.
It's like, well, I feel like as the host of Match Game, at some level you should be flirting with everyone.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't really feel like Martin Short's bag. I like
That's
Martin
right.
Short. He tries. I don't know. Again, maybe it'll get better. I'll probably watch at least one more. But I was a little bit disappointed because I do like Martin Short, and I turned on the first episode, and you got the celebrity guests. Like BD Wong was one of them. Like, oh, I love BD Wong and all of that. I forget who all else was on there, but just as it proceeded, it was kind of like, well, this is just sort of boring. Actually, it
Yeah.
didn't really feel right.
That's disappointing.
We'll see. Because again, in my mind, that's the point of the match game. Like at the end of the day, contestants are walking away from match game having won like $1,000. You know what I mean? It's like very small amounts of money. I think the most you can win on match game is like $25,000. So, and that's if you really, get everything. So,
And
we'll see.
for the record, Martin Short is 75 years young.
There you go. Again, I like Martin Short. Did you ever see? I was trying to find this recently after Colbert got canceled. There was this interview on the Colbert Report that I feel like is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And you can't find it at this point because they pulled old archives off the internet and all of that, and I just like absolutely could not find it. Plus, Martin Short's been on the Late Show and stuff like that, so trying to search for, Stephen Colbert Martin Short interview, but it was on the Colbert Report. So Stephen Colbert was in his character from that show, and Martin Short, of course, has that background where he's been Jiminy Click and all of that,
Mhm.
and I think that was at play. He wasn't on as Jiminy Click, but the way the interview went is they just like kind of kept getting further and further away from reality. Like
Okay.
normally Colbert will do his thing and then the guest kind of brings it back down to the real. And
Yeah.
instead, Martin Short just kept spinning it out. So they just like kept taking the joke further and further and further for like, I don't know, 5 minutes. And it was just absolutely hilarious. I wish I could find it to watch it again. Anyhow, um, we do have some news to cover. Maybe let's start with the thing that I'm sort of most excited about here, which is the new Vince Gilligan show.
I was going to say the exact same thing. That would be a great place to start. Yes.
Um, we've hit on this before. We've known it's been in the works with Ray Seahorn starring, some kind of sci-fi premise. But we got some more information. It's going to be called Pluribus, coming in November to Apple TV Plus. What do you think?
Well, this is, I mean, if the goal of what they released is to make us even more intrigued than we were before, then congratulations, they have done it. This is, as we know, Apple TV won the rights on this new Vince Gilligan show, a two-season order. So, I mean, not even gonna give it a chance to see how it does first season. 2 seasons straight to shoot with Ray Seahorn starring. We really don't know anything other than a log line that says the most miserable person in the world has to find a way to rid the world of happiness or something like that. It's described as genre bending. This is not a crime show. This is not in the Breaking Bad universe. We just don't know much, and I actually love that. I really can't wait for this coming in November.
Yeah, I agree, and I really hope it's good. I don't know why. I mean, it's not at all fair to Vince Gilligan that in the back of my mind is Matthew Weiner.
Mm,
That like because you had Mad Men, maybe they were AMC shows, right? Breaking Bad and Mad Men. Maybe that's part of why I connect them up in my mind. But then now Weiner went on to do the Romanovs, which I actually kind of liked. I thought it was pretty good.
yeah, I've never
But
seen that.
it was not what you would call successful.
Right.
And then what nothing, basically, I think, right? Basically. Um and the Romanovs wasn't great. Like you wouldn't put it in the same kind of pantheon or whatever with like Mad Men.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think maybe Vince Gilligan equally now is esteemed to the level where he'll be allowed to do whatever he wants to do with the show. And at one level, that's great. And I hope it means that this might be just like really great. On the other hand, you might get like I feel like this is part of what happened with the Romanovs. It was almost just like
Hmm.
too indulgent, too self-indulgent, or something like that. But I don't know. It's not fair to make the comparison. I am really excited about this. Vince Gilligan also, of course, has sci-fi in his background, having worked on the X-Files and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, the combination of what you're saying there had to be the reason why this is. I think there's so much excitement about this and anticipation that it will work and why they got 2 seasons. Yeah, I mean it's not that Vince Gilligan has done 30 years of anti-hero crime shows and that's all he's done. Now he's gonna try to break into sci-fi. No, we have a history there with X-Files. We have a history with these extreme success with two different shows, three different shows actually. And so yeah, he is at the stage of we will trust him to do a genre show, and I mean, even being on Apple, I think that's going to draw a lot of viewers to come see what he's doing next.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm heartened by the two season order, too, in relation to what I was saying before, because that means that, like, well, there are no guarantees in life. There was something recently that got a two season order that was immediately canceled anyway. It was that ballet show. I didn't watch it. Oh man, how do you even say that word? At Toile or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
It's the new.
I don't remember this show. No.
It was the new show from Amy Sherman Palladino, who did Marvelous Miss Maisel and Gilmore Girls and all
Okay.
of that. And I think it was a Prime Video. And they gave it a two season order, and then canceled it anyway after one season. So anything's possible. But my hope is, at least if they're giving Pluribus a two season order, that even if it feels a bit bumpy, we say, okay, well, we'll still get the second season for it to like find itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know why I have this worry that, I think it's to try to be clear to everyone. If I'm expressing these worries, it's because I'm actually so excited for the show, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, that I almost have to rein myself in and say, well, Cameron, there's a chance it won't be great. It's like,
Yeah.
don't get your expectations too high.
Not every show can be Breaking Bad or X-Files. I mean, there's a lot of stuff underneath that's still good, but that may not raise or be raised to that level.
Yeah. So, but curious to see about that coming sooner from another show creator that, well, something I'm a fan of, at least. I'm at least a big fan of BoJack Horseman, which I recall talking about before, Ryan. I don't think you've watched. Have you watched BoJack Horseman? You should.
Not something I have watched.
Highly recommend BoJack Horseman. So the new show from sorry, make sure I get his name right. This is one of those things where you frequently read it, and then when you go to say it, like, wait, yes, Raphael Bob Waksberg, um, who also was involved in Undone, as I recall, which I'm a big fan of. He did another show, I think, for Netflix that I didn't much care for, but I didn't give it a lot of a chance. Anyhow, new one coming, animated series called Long Story Short. This is also something I think we may have hit on here before when it was like early in the works kind of announcement.
Hmm.
But this is coming in August. Well, it's August as of today. So this month,
Yeah.
on the 22nd, we got a little trailer, and apparently this has also been already renewed for season 2. So we've got that going for us, which is nice. Looks pretty good. I don't know. Did you watch the trailer?
I haven't seen the trailer for this. This is not, I guess, any clarification from the saying that this is not in the same universe or a spinoff or anything. This is a completely new property, as I understand it.
Yeah, but this is a completely new thing.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it would be because I mean, yeah, because the BoJack universe, as it were, is largely populated by people who are also animals.
Okay.
Like, BoJack's a horseman,
Yeah.
but then there's also like the newscaster is a whale, and BoJack's agent is a cat,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. None of that seems to be going on here. These all just seem like human beings, and it seems as though it's like following a family, but it's going to cut across different eras in the life of that family or something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
definitely feels like there will be, um, I don't know, some level of seriousness or poignancy or something. And,
Yeah.
not just ha ha funny. I'm sure it'll also be funny. You
Yeah.
know,
I need to find some, we just off this conversation, King of the Hill. I need to find some room in my portfolio for some of this more, I don't want to say this the wrong way, sort of this more adult animation, right? These types of shows. I did over the summer read a really good book by Alan Siegel called Stupid TV Be More Funny, so basically a history of The Simpsons, like its first few
Okay.
seasons, and talking about the inspiration of those few seasons to the animation that exists today, and just how intelligent and witty and clever it is, and just how excellent it's become. And yeah, I just need to find room to get into some of these shows. I know that you've recommended several of them to me.
Yeah, I mean, I put them in a couple of different buckets, I guess, too, right? Or in particular, I want to like distinguish BoJack a little bit because some things that might come to mind is more adult animation or whatever, like like Rick and Morty, which one of the notes they're gonna do a Rick and Morty spinoff about President Curtis. I don't know that we even have to say much more about that other than that I wanted to mention it briefly. I haven't kept up with Rick and Morty personally. We've had articles on the site and so on, but I've seen Rick and Morty, and I feel mostly like that's haha funny, you know.
Hmm.
It may have its moments of emotionality. I don't want to deny
Yeah.
that or whatever. But then like, you mentioned The Simpsons and what else is there? There's like Family Guy and things like
Yeah.
this. Like these shows are not prone to make me tear up. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like there's not gonna be a moment where I'm like, oh my God, Bart. Where BoJack Horseman, it is really funny, but it's also really kind of an exploration of things like depression and
Mm.
addiction, and like it gets heavy at certain points where it manages to be somehow almost like deep and emotional and funny. So
Yeah.
like I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that that's, I don't know, better or something, and not a qualitative judgment in that way, but I think there definitely is a difference where maybe BoJack Horseman feels a little bit more meaningful or something like that.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I'm
And
rambling on about this, I feel like the new
well, I
one
mean,
doesn't even have
to
that.
that point, just that there are levels of these things these days, right? It's not just Tom and Jerry and Flintstones anymore. There are levels of things where there's depth and there's emotion and there's humor and there's an intelligence and a wit to it that didn't exist before. And we're just sort of maybe still in that. Maybe 15, 20 years ago we really were in it, but maybe still in the golden age of sort of this type of television.
Yeah. And of course, South Park's still going. We didn't mention the
Yeah.
South Park.
Yeah. There's its own bucket it's in. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like South Park and Rick and Morty you can maybe put them in a similar bucket in certain ways. Anyway, I mentioned the Rick and Morty spinoff. I'll mention it again. People are excited about this. The most recent season of Rick and Morty just ended. We did have articles, or do have articles on the site about each episode written by Chris Sheridan. If people want to check those out, he's written on the past couple of seasons. You know, we don't go all the way back to the beginning with Rick and Morty, but we've got several seasons worth of articles, so people want to check them out on TVObscast.com. Um, Unfortunately, I don't think we have much on Resident Alien
Mm.
on the site. There's a little bit. I think also that Chris wrote a little recommendation of, which is funny. Uh, if you look at the article for Resident Alien, the showrunner for Resident Alien is also named Chris Sheridan. These are not the same person. The showrunner for Resident Alien does not write for
Oh
TVObsessive.com.
wow. Okay.
Um, but anyway, I feel like, and I don't know if you remember, Ryan, because I feel like we talked about it on the pod before. Resident Alien was canceled this past week officially.
Hmm.
I thought it already had been. Did I
We
just
we
jump to that
we have
conclusion? I think.
we have talked about Resident Evil before. I think that no Resident Evil, Resident Alien before, um, in the context of there being rumors that this would be the end. So I guess this is just the finality or the confirmation that this is coming to an end because we have had these conversations about Alan Tudyk, we've had the conversations about this show, and now I think it's just and they addressed it at San Diego Comic-Con, but it's official now.
Yeah, I feel like it was. Yeah, I mean, I guess we were just like reading the tea leaves before,
Yeah.
but I definitely recall talking about it. Which, on the plus side too, like if you're looking at this article from Hollywood Reporter that we'll link to on the show notes on the site, um, it also seems like the showrunner, Christopher Sheridan, was like, yeah, we kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the upside of that is hopefully this means that it'll end relatively well.
Yeah.
I've fallen behind, or I maybe almost decided I was going to wait till the season was over and binge it. Right, like I watched
Yeah.
it was coming because it's been coming out week to week in a weird way where it was like the first episode airs on USA and then a week later comes to Peacock,
Yeah.
and so I'm not sure if the season finale or series finale now is up on Peacock yet or not. I'll have to look. But if it is, then I'll be ready to just binge the season. I watched the season
Yeah.
premiere and then kind of felt like, oh, I have to wait now. And I wasn't sure
Yeah.
I wanted to keep doing that with this show, particularly when the schedule was wonky like that, right? Because
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's going to be on linear cable and then stream on Peacock a week later, where is the fan conversation?
Exactly.
Which week?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, some people are ahead of others. All of that. I don't like when they do stuff like that. They did it with they did it the other way around with this AMC show I wrote on some. Did you ever watch a show? It's called Kevin Can Fuck Himself. Kevin Can F Himself.
No. No.
It was
But
an
I
interesting
remember
show.
I remember us having this conversation. Yeah, this happened with that show exactly. Yeah.
They put it out streaming a week before it aired on AMC. That was the other way around.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that one was weird. That was an interesting show, playing with the sitcom genre and all of that. But I encourage people to check it out. Anyhow, let's get to some of this other stuff. Um, what do you got? You got a couple of things here. Where do you want to go next?
Yeah, let's I want to just very briefly touch on perhaps something I was shocked by, which is I have just, throughout my fandom in the MCU become a fan of Jeremy Renner and followed, what's happened to him and his other projects and also what happened to him with his accident about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Um, and now he is coming on record saying that he's ready to go again and play Hawkeye. He thinks there's going to be a Hawkeye season two. His body is up for it. Just to remind people, Jeremy Renner clinically was dead for a while after the snowplow accident. He was
Yeah.
brought back to life. He had went through a long, long rehabilitation, um, and he says it's up for it. I just want to tell him, or maybe tell myself, that we don't really need a season two. It ended quite well and wrapped up his story, and I think that the MCU has moved on from his phases of time during his role as Hawkeye. So I appreciated his willingness to do this. He's in other shows now and doing a lot of other things, but he may be ready for it. I'm just not sure we need that at this point. Go take care of yourself, do your crime dramas, and just do have a nice sort of easy, not jumping off building shows that you're working on.
Yeah. He's show up in Daredevil or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what they're doing at this point. Yeah, maybe they'll make Hawkeye season two. Jeremy Renner is pretty popular. Maybe that's enough for them to do it. But I mean, it's good that even as someone who's not as much of a fan of the MCU as you are, I mean, it's really good to hear that Jeremy Renner is doing well enough for him to say this, right? Because
Yes.
as you mentioned, when he had that accident, it was like, oh, that was really bad. It was really bad. Um, we got a trailer for the Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I don't know how much I have to say about this either because I remain like so behind on all of the new Star Trek. I don't even know if I should say that I'm behind. It just hasn't grabbed me. I haven't kept up and been watching these shows. In my imagination, I figure like, oh, at some point I'll just get really into these shows, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I will. I was such a huge fan of the '90s Star Trek. Maybe a little disappointed by the first season of Discovery. That didn't keep up with
Mhm.
it. Maybe a little disappointed by the first season of Picard, which I did watch, and then I didn't watch any more of it. And then like I haven't seen any of these other shows at all. But I did watch the trailer for Starfleet Academy. I am kind of intrigued here. I don't know. Any thoughts about this one, Ryan?
Yeah, so I'm going to say I'm more than kind of intrigued by this. We've talked before, I think, about our personal histories with Star Trek, and my dad's fondness of it and growing up with it and watching the movies with him and the old shows and then the next generation and seeing a lot of those things, that being a big part of my youth. I've not, as you said about yourself, not really been diving into any of these more recent things. I have, however, heard so many good things about Strange New Worlds. I'm very tempted to check that out. And
Yeah,
then
me too.
this with Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti and just the it's not a reboot, but more of a we're going to go show you what it takes to become one of these Starfleet characters. Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued by this after watching this trailer.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it fits in the timeline. That's
No.
something I've also gotten confused about because I know that Star Trek Discovery like started out in the past and then like jumped to the way future
Yeah.
or something. And I don't know where this fits in. I noticed watching the trailer, and I don't know if this had been established previously or not. Very small thing I noticed watching the trailer is that there's a plaque on the building or whatever. It's like the James Kirk building.
Hmm.
I don't think James Kirk is the kind of guy that you name the Academy after.
You didn't get up a building named after him. Yeah, there's also at one point like a digital
Like,
wall behind some of these people, and there's a lot of names for people from the
yeah,
past, or just sort of paying homage to some of that. So yeah, I think it's set. I think they say in the trailer that you're the first group to come back to San Francisco and train here in 120 years. So it's set pretty far in the the future.
I think it's in like the post-Discovery timeline.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, I haven't kept up with these shows, so don't listen to me. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying, man. Captain Kirk was a loose cannon. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? He wasn't like the exemplar of what you want a Starfleet officer to be. No Picard,
No,
you
no,
know.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Um, but yeah, I may have to check this out, and then maybe it will finally inspire me to catch up on some of that other stuff. As you mentioned, seems like everyone really likes Strange New Worlds. I think the new season of that just started.
Yes.
Um, oh, another thing that's ongoing that I'm watching, and I'm mentioning this, Ryan, because then I'm going to have a segue. All right,
Okay.
you know. But I'm watching Foundation,
Hmm.
um, and I really think it's quite good.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
really enjoying the season. I think it's the fourth episode that came out today, and it's fun. But I mentioned this because here's the segue. The new character in season three, the Mule, is played by the guy who played Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones.
oh boy. Okay. Okay.
All right. And we've got the news that the guy who played Theon Greyjoy is going to be in Three Body Problem. So there's my segue.
Yeah, so Benioff and Weiss, who are adapting Three Body Problem, the three different books, have said they've released some casting news for season two, which is at some point in the future. We have no idea when. This is a massively complex show that they are working on. They've started production on the second season in Hungary, but yes, Alfie Allen, or better known to many as Theon Greyjoy, and maybe more emotionally known as Reek to a lot of people, is going to join this show. He will be, I believe, the fourth or fifth Game of Thrones alum to be on Three Body Problem. I'm gonna have to start working on the second book soon. We get again no date on this second season. Then there is a massive time jump in between the first and second book and season, so they had
Mhm.
to create some new characters and adapt some new stories. So yeah, Alfie Allen, our favorite Theon Greyjoy, going to be on Three Body Problem whenever we do see that again.
When did the first season come out? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was
shoot.
thinking it was weird. I was actually thinking about this morning as I was driving. The Three Body Problem was good and it was popular, but it's not Game of Thrones. It's not Severance. Like we can't make people wait forever for this stuff. I mean, they need to. I mean, if we've known for a while that it's going forward, they need to get moving on this, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, season two is going to come out, and you're going to see lots of people saying, like, I don't even remember what happened in season one. It was
Exactly.
4 years ago.
Exactly right.
But yeah, we'll see. Um, all right, good. So I think that about covers our news items here. Ready to talk about Paradise?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So again, I don't remember when this aired exactly. It was a little while ago. People haven't watched Paradise. It's on Hulu. There's one season. It's been renewed for season 2, and that's in the works. Got some Emmy nominations, which I think is a little bit weird, but we'll talk about that more as we get into spoiler territory. And the kind of a sneaky hit of the year. And so yeah, we're all have spoilers on the table here for all 8 episodes in Paradise season 1. We'll put in a little bit of music here and be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we are back to talk about Paradise Season 1 on Hulu, all 8 episodes. This show was created by Dan Fogelman. I just checked, it premiered in January of 2025. It was so popular, ABC ran it on its network in April of 2025. And so, yes, 8 episodes that came out in January. A quick summary of this first season. 3 years after an environmental doomsday event, surviving members of the United States live in an underground city bunker in Colorado. The series opens with the murder of President Cal Bradford, which sends Secret Service agent Xavier Collins on a mission to find out the truth about the murder, truth about what happened on the day the world learned about the impending disaster, and what the surface is actually like 3 years later. With billionaire and chief decision maker Samantha Sinatra Redmond trying to stop his investigation, Collins learns that the same man who tried to assassinate President Bradford years earlier, which caused Agent Collins to get shot, snuck into the bunker and killed the president. As the season ends, Collins, seeking some answers to mysteries, boards an airplane that's headed for the surface to look for survivors, including his wife, whom Collins has been told is alive. You just said a moment ago about how this sort of became a out of nowhere hit for Hulu and then for ABC as well. I was going back and looking at some of the reviews of this show and found the one from ABC News, Peter Travers, who said it is, quote, wonderfully bingeable, end quote. I think that's a good way to describe this show and why we've talked about this before, but yeah, this is a show. If you make it to the end of the first season or end of the first episode, I can almost guarantee you're going to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, we can start there. Personal history of viewership a little bit, right? This is one where I recall you mentioned it, I think, on the podcast, and I started to see that some other people were watching it, seeing comments on social media. I was like, okay, well, I'll check this show out. And I don't know if you recall, Ryan, but I remember mentioning to you that the first time I started watching Paradise, I turned it off about 5 minutes in. And then I decided the following week or something, I'll give it another chance. And it turned out that on that initial viewing, I turned it off like right before it gets exciting. But it also relates to one of the things I want to talk about, which is the way in which this show is also really kind of bad. I mean, it's like kind of cheesy, it's kind of ridiculous. The dialogue is I don't even what's the right term for the dialogue? Cliched,
Yeah.
I mean, so that first viewing for the first 5 minutes, like, oh my God, people, like people don't
Yeah.
talk like this. This is this dialogue's awful. And it can kind of continues to be, but at the same time, ultimately, I do think the show really hooks you, or at least it did me and others I've talked to and so on.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of good things about it. So it's really kind of an interesting program.
Yeah. I mean, I could not agree more. This show will never win awards for its writing, for anything like that. But it just, when you think about what will keep people attached to a show, you've got a murder mystery right off the bat. Who killed the president? You've got this twist at the end of episode 1. You've got Sterling K. Brown in a really, I mean, fantastic performance. And then they just keep layering on these pieces of this mystery and then sort of things that you want to find out. They just found the perfect recipe for, yeah, people will click next episode as soon as one is over. And it looks like, just based on numbers that have come out, people watched the show and they finished it quickly once it looking at people that just binged it from start to finish.
Right, because they did release this week to week, I believe.
They did.
I
Yep.
I remember at one point, because I was trying to binge it, or I did binge it, and but it was like I was trying to wait for the season to be over, and I miscalculated, and I binged everything, and then I had to wait a week for the season finale.
For the finale, yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, but you'd wait a week.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so we've noted here it's been nominated for 4 Emmys. I don't feel like this is the kind of show that wins Emmys, but who knows? Like
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
could see, supporting actress Julianne Nicholson. I could see a case for that. I need to look at who the nominees are, but now, this doesn't strike me as, if I think about the shows from this past year as it's gone up against, that it will win these categories. But to have something like this, you said, is not. It's, I mean, when I call it wonderfully bingeable, or when Peter Travers calls it wonderfully bingeable, he doesn't necessarily say it's great or that it's good or that it's high quality. It's just to have a show that so many people watch rise to the level that it does get 4 Emmy nominations.
yeah, I mean, and it's definitely, it's well made.
Yeah.
We can say that it's well produced. We can say that. I mean, you could even say it's well acted, given the writing that they're working with.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to hit on some of these, hopefully in a more organic way. I don't want to just list things. So, I mean, let's start talking about the plot a little bit more and kind of digging into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, and circle back around to some of these other remarks that I want to make ultimately about um, what I think of as like cheesy elements or whatever. What grabs us, as you mentioned, I think the initial mystery of who killed the president,
Yeah.
and I think it works really well with the flashbacks with James Marsden um, as a president here.
Yeah.
Cal is his character's name, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Wildcat.
I thought he did a really good job,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes you care about the character, so that like that structure of it, um, and then you say the big twist you learn at the end of episode 1 is that they're actually underground in a mountain, and now we don't
Right.
want to know why, and all of that.
Yeah, I think
Which
there's a good way that they combine those two things, that they introduce this twist by way of a little bit of exposition when Collins is in office and they tell him that after he comes back from his leave from being shot. But then you also have seen just sort of the real traumatic emotional stuff that the president, his family, his wife, his son are going through and have gone through. And so you're sympathetic for that character. So now you've got these sort of double pathways that you're just, man, I'm just interested in both of them and want to find out, yeah, which one are we going to get answers to first? Which one are we going to go down episode to episode? I mean, great, just hooks just right and left in these first couple episodes.
Yeah, and I mean this relates to also part of what I do think is a bit ridiculous. I'm going to try to stop saying that over and over again, but the initial setting just seems like it's the normal world, right?
Yeah,
And then that's why it's a twist to find out, oh no, actually they've made this city like underground by hollowing out a mountain or whatever.
yeah,
But I think then related to that are questions about the society that they have in that city of paradise is the name of the
yeah.
place, right? And I can't help but make some comparisons to Silo. We've talked about Silo on the podcast, of course. Hopefully, people have listened to that. Hopefully, people have seen Silo. I, we don't need to get into big spoilers here,
Uh-huh.
right? But hopefully, people won't mind if the premise of Silo is something that we discuss a little bit, because it really is. That's all I really want to bring in, right? That with Silo, the premise is some terrible thing has happened that's driven humanity underground,
Uh-huh.
but they're in a silo. They
Yeah,
know it. The
yeah,
the whole structure of the society is very different to what we're used to. The fact that they are the surviving humans underground is leading in the direction of a kind of authoritarian government or something like that.
right.
And so just thinking about that contrast, and I don't know if you have thoughts about this, but with Paradise, it's instead almost like they're not tricking the people there because the people there know the real deal, but that they have created a semblance of what was ordinary reality in underground now. But there are
Yeah.
ways in which also that doesn't make sense. Anyway, sorry, you talk.
Yeah, I like the parallel because, and in both shows, again, not to give anything away on Silo, there's one person who is sort of an oversized authoritarian or decision-making individual within the world that they are in. We come to find out in Paradise that I think this is in episode 7 that the planes carrying the chief justices and the Congress and all of them, those are some of the ones that went down when everything happened. So all that's left are the president, the people that were with him, and some billionaires that were saved. And so chief among those billionaires is the one that's decided basically to assume control. And so, yes, they are to an extent honest with them about what's going on and why they need to go under and what happened. Um, but it's created this structure, yeah, where it doesn't even seem like the president is actually in control. He's sort of ruled by or governed by or influenced by this Sinatra character and all these cronies that just sort of bow to her desires.
Yeah, but then that gets to the level at which like something about this is a little bit absurd,
Hmm.
right? Like, so you mentioned billionaires. We're told that they're billionaires. I don't
Yeah.
think that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of things about the show where it's like, just go with it. You know what I mean? Like, or
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes sense if you don't think about it too much. Which normally, if I said something like that, it would be a harsh criticism, but I don't mean it as a harsh criticism here. That's
Right.
what what's weirdly distinctive about how entertained I am by the show. But you know what I mean? Like if society is down to 25,000 people, or what I think they give us a number like that at one point.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense for some people to be billionaires. Do they even have to pay for the cheese fries?
It is interesting. I think it's worth considering that in this world, the people who were billionaires are still considered the quote unquote important or the governors or the ones that can make the decisions because they were the ones that were successful. And they just sort of people just allow them to remain at those levels of sort of importance and decision making, even though what they did outside clearly does not matter, nor does what they had before. None of that exists. So yeah, why are they allowing these people to be the ones in charge?
Right. Like, are there homeless people in paradise?
Right,
No.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean? Like, again, do they even have to pay for their food and provisions? Because at a certain level, that wouldn't even make sense, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the very structure of the idea of paradise to, like post-apocalyptic survival little society in a mountain, it pushes so immediately in the direction of something like socialism, and yet they're just like billionaires.
It is interesting because they referenced this at one point, and we see how there were people brought to this city with certain levels of experience, expertise, talents, everything from bartenders to psychiatrists to chefs, to everything. I mean, anything you could think of, and then yet, what role or what job, what purpose do the billionaires serve other than just sit around a table and make decisions about things? I mean, they're not necessarily running tech companies or multinational corporations anymore. So they weren't brought there to make food or to solve medical problems. So yeah, what's the reason that they're there is just because they had some sort of importance to this president and his government.
Yeah, but then again, it's like, okay, don't think about this too much. We're not.
Yeah,
This isn't how the show wants you to approach it, right?
exactly,
There's another
exactly.
way we could contrast it with Silo. This is not, it would seem, about the possibility of, I don't know, some kind of rebellion or fighting against injustice in paradise itself. I mean, if it goes on for more seasons at some point, more of that might get into play in some way. But instead, it's um, about the murder of the president. And that's also presented in continuity with, like the president of the United States. Like, we're familiar with her being a president of the United States. Never mind, there's no United States anymore in this
Yeah.
world, you know? It's the same guy, you know? So, I mean, I think part of it is that, I guess, that the catastrophe wasn't that long ago, you know, that we're still dealing with the same people. And there might be something to think about there. I just, you know, it's one of those things where, and then anyway, I don't know where I was going with this. Just the ways in which the society of paradise resembles ours are
Mm, yeah.
often ways that I feel like would be undermined by the very thing that is the premise of the show,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
don't explore that. They're just like, just accept it. There's a president,
Yes.
there's Secret Service, they have guns, they're billionaires.
Yes.
You're like, does all of that really make sense in this context? No, it don't. So
This,
they'll be
yes,
bothered.
this is the yada yada stuff that they're asking you to look over, and probably why people find it so bingeable is that just you can dismiss all that stuff and just focus on who killed the president and what's happening in the surface.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, I do think it proceeds in a way. One of the shows that I've compared it to frequently is 24,
Mm,
which is also was a very bingeable show,
yeah,
but it has that kind of it's interesting to me that it's a Hulu show too, because it really does kind of feel like a network TV show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I do wonder sort of how I mean, we could probably dive into this or research it at some point, but yeah, what was sort of the spark or the genesis of all this? Was it pitched to the networks and they just, or he said, I've got an 8 episode thing and networks weren't interested in that. So he took it straight to a streamer, or how did this go? Because I mean, this is a very tight story told over 8 episodes. Of course, once it became popular, ABC said, oh, well, we're going to run it for, 2 months in April. But yeah, I wonder how all that came about. But it's just, I mean, it's built for a streamer, basically.
And it's well, yeah, okay. The premise too, I mean, we mentioned Silo. We could also mention a show like Fallout,
Mm,
video game. Um, Originally there, of course. So, I mean, these are all different
yeah.
in meaningful ways, but in at some level, it does kind of feel like, all right, well, there's something in the zeitgeist that makes people think about the possibility of human society having to live underground. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. Yeah. No,
Whether it's
I also just keep going back to the fact that with Fallout and Silo, even if you don't understand necessarily the details of what happened, why they're there, going in that they've been forced underground or forced into this situation because of some external factors or some factors that put them there. In Paradise, you're completely surprised by this at the end of the first episode. So then it sort of becomes this, oh, well, now I really want to know on top of what's happening in the president's house. I really want to know what's the reason is for this. And it just adds that layer of you surprised me by this, so maybe you'll surprise me with more, as we go forward here.
yeah, I mean, I guess, and this is what I mean by feeling like network TV, if that makes sense. But maybe it just lands for people immediately. But to try to flesh it out a little bit, I feel like, we got Dan Fogelman going here, and he's like, hey, what if we take this kind of idea
Yeah.
about humanity living underground, but we're going to use all TV tricks? You
Yep.
know, this show has everything. It's got a twist ending to the pilot. It's got flashbacks. It's got a murder mystery. It's got spy thriller. Like it's got conspiracy. It's
Yeah.
it's like all of these things are going on. You know what I mean? So I think it's relates to what you say. It makes a difference in terms of how the show plays. Whereas with Silo, I mean, it's like you see the show is
Yeah.
called Silo, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tagline is like people live in a silo underground. You're like, okay, I don't
That's
know, this
right.
is the premise of the show. Then it makes this kind of structural difference when instead it's like you go into this show, it feels like you're, um, you know, it's a mystery show. Someone killed the president, and then it's like, but oh, ha, ha, by the way, everyone lives underground. You're like,
That's right.
what?
That's right.
So
Yeah, your head is spinning after the first episode if you make it to the end. And so yeah, you just can't help but say, "Oh gosh, okay, well, yep, next episode I can spend another 45 minutes with this."
yeah, and then like some of these things work better than others. Again,
Mhm.
it almost it works best if you don't think about it too much in terms of the entertainment value. But I think even for someone like me, that's just like not possible. So I'll think about it anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when I do think about some of this stuff, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a harsh criticism so much as something that I'm willing to laugh at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like one of the quips I made after the season finale, one of the quips I made was he wanted to make a mixtape, so I had to kill him. Because it kind of plays like that. I mean, like you have this whole backstory with the guy, right? Trent is his name, right? You have
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
backstory about him working on, excavating the mountain and discovering the poison and,
yeah.
his African friend and all. You have all of that motivating the first assassination attempt, I guess.
Yes.
But if you think about it, with that first assassination attempt, he's like, the world's got to know the truth. Then he manages to like get out of prison and everything and work himself into paradise. And as he tells us, he got comfortable. He was living there for several years.
Yeah, the security checks at the gate are not the best.
That too. But so then what motivates him to ultimately kill the president? He just like remembered the president existed.
Yeah. I okay. Um, hold on. I wanted to. This is from the Wikipedia description of the finale. Okay, we're
Okay.
talking about Trent. Initially comfortable with life in the bunker, the false Trent's hatred of the president resurfaced upon meeting him. It's like he forgot that he that he hated him until he saw him again.
But I'm saying, like, he forgot. And the cow comes in, he wants to make a mixtape for his son, and then he's like, oh, now I remember that I want to kill this guy. Um,
But what's great about this is that all this stuff is true that we're talking about. When this comes back, the first second it is available on Hulu, I will be turning it on and watching it. I mean, I can't wait for this to come back and see more of this.
yeah, absolutely, man. It's fine. I mean, and again, some of these elements are funny. Um, the way that Jane wants the Wii, right? So you should have just given me the Wii. But
Yeah,
also in that scene, how it's like Collins is the main character's name, right?
yeah, Xavier
Um,
Collins. Yeah,
he has a gun to Sinatra's head, and Jane comes in and shoots her. But don't worry, she very expertly knows she didn't kill her.
yeah,
Right? It's like I shot you across the room in the chest, but I know that I just like punctured your lung.
that's right.
So Jane
She's that
is super expert,
she's that
sharpshooter.
good. I
Mhm.
mean, she can poison people without them knowing. She can shoot people across the room and know exactly where it is. She's that good. That's why Sinatra hired her.
Yeah, yeah. There's also I put this on our show sheet because I wanted to remember to mention it. You might not even know what I'm talking about. Was those Gabriella's fries
Yes.
in the closing montage of the season finale? So this is after Sinatra's been shot. We've solved the mystery. This montage includes Collins going to the airplane, which that's another thing that's kind of a little bit. Why is he taking an airplane?
I guess you got to fly.
He's
There's a runway to get out of this place. I guess I don't know.
but then he's gonna have to land the plane somewhere.
Yeah.
We just run there. Just trust we're gonna find a runway.
Yeah.
They don't have like a helicopter. That would be a
The,
little
ro-
more thing.
the roads will be clear. Everybody's dead up there mostly.
You don't think the roads will be filled with cars full of corpses? um, we'll see. Anyway, in that montage, and well, wait, I need to like go just a step back to remind people um that a big thing in how they discover that a couple of people aren't who they said they were, and they ultimately discover that Trent killed Cal and all that. Hangs on the cheese fries, right? Because he
Mm.
brought in the woman who becomes the waitress at the restaurant, who's always serving the cheese fries, and they discover that she has a nut allergy. And of course, the cheese fries aren't really cheese fries, it's cashew cheese, you know.
Yes.
So, okay, all of that, fair enough, I'm not criticizing all that.
Yeah.
All of that's happened. In the closing montage, they include Gabriella sitting at the diner with a plate of cheese fries, which she pushes away from herself.
Right. Yes.
It's just like,
What, what's the problem with
why?
that?
No, just why is that in there? Why, in light of what's happened, why would she go to the diner to
Yeah.
get some cheese fries and then push them away? You know what I mean? And it's just one of these TV things that you're not supposed
I
to really
know.
think about.
I did find it to be, I mean, a pretty clever. I mean, I guess it's Chekhov's cheese fries. That how many times they talk about cheese fries in the course of these 8 episodes. I mean, it must be 20 times that they
Yeah.
say something about it, and then it actually matters at the end. And you would never think of it. I mean, is it ridiculous? Yes, but just the fact that they could weave it away for that to matter, that some of these things were discovered because of that. I mean, it's just. I mean, some of it is just ridiculous, but you have to give it credit for being clever.
Yeah, no. I don't have, I think all of that works perfectly well. I'm pointing more to how, and this also works. They made this decision to symbolize her emotional and psychological state at the end of season 1
Yeah.
by pushing away the cheese fries.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like well, I'm so distraught I can't even eat these delicious fries.
Yeah.
But to think about the fact that she would have had to have gone to the diner and ordered the fries first. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. We need to, before we talk about a potential season two, we need to at least reference, because if you go look at a list of, best TV episodes of the year, a lot of them are going to have episode 7 on it.
Yeah.
Episode 7 is titled The Day. It basically is a recount of what happened on the day that there was enough glaciers melted in Antarctica, triggering a volcanic eruption that triggered massive tsunamis that flooded the world, that triggered Russia and China setting off nuclear missiles to try to claim resources, that triggered the decision for President Bradford to not do that, and these folks escaping and making it to Colorado. Now, it is a tense, dramatic, oftentimes emotional episode that just keeps layering on things like the Bradford's connection with the janitor in the White House, the staff rioting against them when they realize that they're not going to be able to get out. I mean, just real tense episode of television that has gotten a lot of acclaim over the past few months.
Yeah. Sorry. Um, it's sort of the one episode of the show where I would say it is good. Just
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
an unqualified way.
yeah.
Good episode of television, right? It's just solid. It's and full credit for the super mega tsunami of it all, as opposed to, something else. Um, I'm not sure I quite get the response of there's a super mega tsunami, so we need to nuke everyone. Not sure I fully get that logic, but whatever.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
yeah, everyone doesn't get nuked because, oh, he's also got the option to use an EMT, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
apparently he has EMT'd the world, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, but that doesn't affect Paradise because reasons.
Because they set it up so, I mean,
So you got a Faraday cage? Paradise in a
yeah,
Faraday
exactly.
cage?
That's exactly what they have,
Do they
right?
say
Exactly
that?
what they
They may as well say that. I don't know. If they didn't say it, just throw that into the dialogue somewhere. Like, well, of course, we live in a Faraday cage. Um, so that's interesting. And definitely seems that in season 2, we're going to go out into the world with
Yeah.
Collins and sort of see what's going on. So there'll be that connection there as well. One question I have is And of course, this is the kind of thing that could be known potentially through casting and things like this. But do you does it feel like there's a real way for um Cal to be in season two?
Okay, I'm glad you're bringing this up because if I have concerns about season two, based on what we know about the end of season one, it is that Cal can only be present in flashbacks.
Mhm.
Collins is leaving Paradise, so he and Sinatra are separated. I mean, I presume he will have a lot of adventures and drama on the surface, whatever he's gonna. But we're separating this guy Collins from this world that you've built up and did so well with. So I'm a little bit concerned of how again, we can make comparisons to Silo. What happens when you move your main character away from this world that you have created? I'm a little bit concerned about that and want to see how they handle that.
Yeah, but I'm not too worried about that in and of itself because I mean the comparison with Silo almost shows how it could work, right? You just kind of go back and forth,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Between the plot line outside and inside, or whatever. Outside and inside is what it would be here in
Right, right.
Paradise, right? But my concern about Cal, because I really do think that James Marsden's performance and that character, it really added a lot to my enjoyment of the show. It's hard to see how he could still be in it. I mean, he's
Yeah,
been dead since the beginning.
right,
Well, that doesn't stop you from doing flashbacks.
right.
Why are you doing flashbacks? Well, narratively, it makes sense because we want to know how he died.
Hmm.
And we also want to know how they ended up, you know, under the mountain in paradise, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We pretty much got the answers to those questions. So, like, what
Yeah,
narrative sense would it make to have more flashbacks with him? Um, if he's not in the
I
show, that would kind of suck. But if he is, well, he feels shoehorned in, you know?
yeah, it does give me a little bit of concern. It certainly does. We already know from some things that have been announced and said recently that there will be new characters introduced in the second season. And clearly, they're going to the surface. They're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So time, I mean, it seems like maybe the James Marsden portion of this show is going to be minimized. I mean, maybe significantly, because you're right. What more they can add other than maybe we learn more about the days leading up to this happening, or what the preparations were, or what what but we know, to your point, we know the answers to these questions that revolved around the flashbacks with President Bradford. So it's gonna be a big hill for them to climb.
I mean, yeah, I think it would almost just make the most sense for him just not be in the show anymore.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
could be.
and it's possible that it goes in that direction. I don't know. Mentioned new characters in season two. Their SDCC panel. We got some stuff on this. Shailene Woodley got some hints about Graceland and stuff. I
Yes.
don't know, things that got
Yeah,
your
her.
mind
I mean,
going
this
there.
is not spoiling anything. This has been widely reported, but there was footage shown at San Diego Comic-Con of season two where Shailene Woodley is joining the cast, and there's footage shown of apparently the day that the world ended, and she is a tour guide at Elvis Presley's house in Graceland, and somehow she is going to, I presume, she's somebody who's going to have survived on the surface. She's going to play a major role in season two, and they're sort of introducing her character in this way. So a lot of that is just speculation, but it was shown during Comic-Con. So I know the season two is underway, but there's going to be a whole new part of this world built out as we move forward.
Yeah, and then imagine that a lot of it will be in the outside world in season two. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, clearly season one leads up to the story continuing. But
I'm just quickly searching just what was known as of April and May. In April and May, there was no official word that James Marsden would return. Um, so I suppose there's a chance that that's it.
Yeah. It's just, I guess, what I've gotten thinking about here as we sort of wrap up is whether season two will meaningfully feel like a different show,
Yeah, yeah, it
or
could.
like how could it feel like the same show when the elements of what's going on are really going to be different. Um, he's going to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
out in the
I
world.
mean, there's a very clear case for this. Is this pivots into a action adventure search and rescue show of some kind, right? He's clearly gone to look for his wife. Um, but while he's gone, will Sinatra try to retake control? Will, there'll be things that are underhanded, undermined that he has to go back. We just don't know. But if you remove the Marsden President Bradford component, yeah, it could be a completely different show.
I don't know. Man, we're experiencing a lack of imagination somehow.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
going to, let me try. Let me try. So, okay, he goes out into the world. He sees what it's like. It's very bad, of course. There are people who have survived. We're discovering that really these elites, these billionaires, have just abandoned the masses of humanity. And of course, that
Yeah.
makes Collins angry. So now he's going to go back to paradise, but not with the motivation of, just bringing his wife back there, but to like take down Sinatra and the evil
Yeah.
billionaires or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
or something like that.
I can see a lot of paths that would get there. It'll be interesting to hear as I mean, this is fast tracked. I mean, this is not going to be a 3 year wait for season two of Paradise. They recognize the hit that they have. So once we get some confirmation about the margin piece, there'll be some wild speculation of what's going to happen.
Yeah, getting going on it. Or here's another idea, Ryan. He goes out and, well, there are zombies now. Where did the zombies come from?
Oh boy.
Why, why not?
Tsunami zombies. Yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. Um, the fish people. Um, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that about does it. Glad we had the chance to talk about this show, Sam. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up?
That about covers it. I'm glad we talked about this. I mean, it was definitely a surprise, great show to have dropped that we could. And I think also just to sort of make this point, the number of people that discovered it between episode one and episode two, this is the argument for doing these types of things on a week to week. If you have any sense that you might be able to grab people, I mean, the word of mouth between episode one and episode two, just you can go find the numbers on this. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. And it worked. I mean, like, basically, you convinced me to check it out. I know I convinced some people to check it out. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
definitely a word of mouth sort of thing, because as I recall, it wasn't really on my radar before it came out,
right. Oh yeah.
and I mean, I'm in the position with, running the website and everything. I try to keep an eye out for new shows, but sometimes, sometimes I think it's the name, because you're
Yeah.
looking at a list and all you see is the name, and you don't necessarily go, oh, Paradise, that's definitely
Yeah.
something that I need to look into further. Oh, we didn't even somehow, we talked about all these different cheesy elements. And I failed to ever mention the most wonderful thing about the show, which is that every time they need a needle drop, it's the
Oh.
same sappy cover of that Phil Collins song. Every time, you're like, maybe they'll use a different song this time. Nope.
When you buy the rights, you might as well use it as much as you can.
It's just, but they don't even, I don't think they ever even use the original song. It's always the cover of the song, isn't it? I
I
have to double check.
think so. Yeah.
Uh, so anyway, we'll leave it there. Thanks always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do give a good rating, review, all that good stuff. Share on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back next week to talk about The Pit, which feels in a similar kind of vein of a streaming show that's almost networky or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was Ryan's choice. So looking forward to talking about that next week. I actually still haven't seen it, so that's interesting. I'll be watching the pit between now and then, and we'll see
just
how it
going
goes.
cold, yeah.
Follow TV Obsessive on social media, search for TV Obsessive, and you should find us. And please do check out TVObsessive.com, where we have written work on any number of TV shows. Poke around there. And we'll be back with you next week.
All right, looking forward to that. We'll see you then.